Welcome back to Karen's Couch, and thank you so much for joining me here for yet another extraordinary and staggering show of this week's episode. This week, I've decided to, lift the lid on a somewhat controversial issue. You know what I'm like. You know I'm going to do it. So this week, I've had a really good look at myself, and I've thought to myself, what are some of the things that wake me up at night, that disturb me, that unsettle me? And one of them, I'm going to be honest, I'm putting it out there. Here's the confession. I'm getting old. I'm getting old. I'm 44, and if you've been following the show, you know. And also, I'm feeling like I'm getting to a point from a woman's point of view. Guys, I'm sorry for what you're about to hear, but from a woman's point of view, I'm starting to notice some significant changes in my body, where I'm carrying my love, my comfort, and I'm also starting to notice that my cycle is starting to change. And I've been noticing that for the last couple of years. So I went to my local GP, we did some tests, and we discovered that I was what's called peri-menopausal. Now what that means, who knows? But one thing I can tell you for sure, I don't know who's waking up each morning. It's a different person. How I feel about myself tends to change throughout the course of the month. So when I had a good look at myself, I looked in the mirror, I noticed the wrinkles, I noticed the extra love and fluff. I decided it was time for me to start to do something about it, and research is always my first point of call. Through my research, I discovered an absolute expert. Now, you know I'm into natural stuff, and I'm not into anything that's chemically driven. I'm not a big supporter of the big pharmaceutical companies. I'm not somebody who has a GP. I don't have a doctor. I went to one once. It's not a model that I tend to follow. I try to follow something, or methodologies and philosophies that are much more natural and innate to the human intelligence. So in my research, I discovered a man who absolutely blew my mind with just what he'd written on his website about how nutrition can affect our aging, how the whole life cycle and lifestyle of women and men affects our ability to age. And this man is the undisputed expert, certainly in terms of me, and I know the people who follow this show, we're all the same. We're all looking for natural alternatives. This man is Dr. Uzzi Reiss, and he lives in Beverley Hills, but he comes from Israel. Now, he has spent his entire life investigating, researching, and putting into practice anti-aging miracles. Now, I'm not going to rattle on because he's going to tell you all about himself, and I really can't wait for you to meet Dr. Uzzi Reiss, and let's welcome him to the couch today. Everybody who's listening to the show via podcast and watching the show online, really, this is going to be one of the most extraordinary shows that we've brought to you. So make sure that you get a pen and a paper and a cup of coffee, and you really start to pay attention to what we're about to go through, because I'm about to introduce you to somebody who is an absolute expert in the field of anti-aging. And just the conversations that I've had with Dr. Reiss off air have already blown my mind. I'm so excited about what we're going to talk about today. Dr. Reiss, thank you. Thank you for being with us, and thank you for everything that you're about to share just in advance, because I'm enthralled by your view and your take on women and how we age and what we go through. Before we kind of go down the path of what aging is and how it affects us, and even the birth control pills that you were talking about earlier, tell us just a little bit about yourself and your clinic that you have there in Beverley Hills. Tell us about you and how you've come to be such an expert in this field.
Okay, it's really simple. I was trained in Israel. The medicine was very different to the training that I got in the United States. So From day one, I understood there's no one way to solve way. And I always were looking how I can solve medical condition without drug, without medication, with nutrition, with proper mental attitude, with physical activity, and with natural hormone. So I basically prescribing natural hormone since 1982. That was a total dark age in terms of natural hormone. Everything was drugs and medication. And right now, I basically found solution to most female issue without drug and medication. I have nutritional program to basically, I would say, eliminate endometriosis, for menstrual cramp, for irregularity on the period, for infertility. I have a nutritional way to create birth control environment without birth control that I think are very toxic. That later on led me to add my expertise to the men. In the last few years, I go to a program given by the Medical School of the University of Southern Florida. They want to give to alternative medicine more kind of scientific base.
Yes.
But everything at the end is based on science. And drug is not science. But nutrient, natural hormone, the optimal food, our optimal state of mind, our physical activity, our love to do things right, they all always will help. So we have to start with perfect nutrition, with good relationship, with good attitude, with physical activity, and with proper sleep. You add to that optimal hormonal balance. And you know, our hormones are under attack. Men, women today in their 20s may have miserable amount of what the parents will have. If today the level of testosterone in young men is about 20 to 30% of what was of their father and grandfather, we see significant decline in adrenal hormone like DHEA and pregnenolone. Just take this hormone pregnenolone, and it's incredible adrenal hormone. They keep our brain alert, help us rise up to the occasion intellectually, give us verbal skills, social skill, prevent hangover. We see better color, we see better detail. And in the same time, we can live our life without our external environment taxing us, taking away from us. So our fight and flight is so much more productive.
So tell me, Dr. Reiss, a lot of, particularly here in Australia, and I'm sure that this is happening worldwide, a lot of people who are wanting to have children are finding themselves having to go down the IVF program because our bodies are just not responding to the natural forms of falling pregnant. Is this because of this fluctuation in hormones? And what's caused that? Is it our diet? Is it our stress? What's causing this enormous disconnect?
Well, look at the simple thing. We are cavemen. We have the exact brain that the cavemen 20 to 50,000 years ago had. We are not different in any way. And the caveman brain constantly was on a crossroad between procreation and survival.
Right.
We are constantly in survival mode. We are running and running and running. And overnight we want to be in procreation. It's very difficult. Do you understand?
I do. I do understand.
So I will go here to a man. You'll see a lot of young men complaining that they have sexual issue, sexual problem.
Yeah.
They have problem to get erection. Young men. But then they wake up in the middle of the night, everything is working. So how it's possible? The constant daily stress avoid them to perform. When they sleep, then the cortisol went down, then they are calm. Suddenly they perform, but there's nobody to perform with. But
true.
And another aspect of that, the significant decline in hormone compared to what it used to be. So I have a big practice. I'm not an IVF doctor. I don't do IVF. But many women that so-called didn't succeed with IVF would come to me and will help them get pregnant or succeed in the next time. I got pregnant women that define as perimenopausal. There's a very known test today that tests the capacity of the ovary to produce. It's called anti-Müllerian hormone.
Right.
I get women pregnant with very low anti-Müllerian hormone, and we do few simple things.
And what are they? What are those things that you do?
Okay. Studies have shown in the past that they look in vitro why this embryo continue and grow, and this one not. And they show a significant difference in the amount of antioxidant in the area around the embryo. So it was shown the more antioxidant mean pregnant faster, staying pregnant later, less complication of pregnancy, less spontaneous abortion, less anomaly, and less chromosomal anomaly. So obviously, on my life, I work with antioxidants. So either I measure it or generally load those women with antioxidants. Every hormone affects fertility. Thyroid affects fertility. Testosterone helps the follicle to produce. Melatonin, it was shown that melatonin regressed the endocrine age by about 3 years. DHEA, I give DHEA for more than 20 years to women that want to get pregnant. Now it's absolute. DHEA take women that don't succeed and turn them to succeed. I also use a lot of pregnenolone because this is the first hormone in the hormonal tree. And obviously there's a lot of study on human growth hormone, because human growth hormone in many Japanese studies show to improve every aspect of fertility.
Right.
I also use nutrients that and help blood flow to the uterus. At the same time, I use visualization technology with those women. When they come to me, they're so scared, they're so depressed, they feel that it's not going to happen. So I do little visualization that I tell them to do it all the time. For example, I teach them how to visualize procreation. Visualize the egg coming from the ovary like a football, the sperm at the end of the tube that with the husband or with the partner of this woman. The egg come to the chest of the sperm, turn to this beautiful boy and girl, they walk along the tube, fall to the uterus, circulate 3 times, and embed it like a cement few times. So this is one visualization they do. I teach them to visualize how the baby is moving in their stomach. I teach them to visualize delivery. When I used to do obstetric, I help the woman put her hand down, put it under the baby's shoulder, and pull it. So all those calm and relax, and many times we really can do things that otherwise couldn't happen.
You know, there's 2 questions or one statement and one question that I want to ask you about that. There's in some of the research that I've done, it was Einstein says that the brain and the body doesn't know the difference between what's imagined and what's real. So through that visualization, no doubt the body is then responding with what it needs to help bring that visualization to reality.
And also relax the person and make it real and make it possible.
Yeah.
We go away from constant negativity. Do you understand?
Yeah.
Negativity definitely don't help. And then you show them that it can happen. So we'll be more motivated to eat right. You know, we can't ignore our diet. We can't.
I was going to ask you about that because there's a friend of mine who really struggled to get pregnant and really didn't want to go down the IVF path purely because she didn't want to do the injections and, you know, she didn't want to have it to be a chemical process. And she kind of thought, well, if I'm not meant to fall pregnant, then, you know, there are powers greater than me that are determining that that's not meant to be. She changed her diet. I think she lost about 11 kilos. She changed her diet and within, I think it was about 8 months, she was pregnant. But she'd been trying for 6 years earlier with no joy. So the effect of nutrition on our body's ability to procreate. Talk to us about that.
Okay, you see, in this particular woman, she's overweight, she's inflamed. Inflammation basically suppresses every positive process in our body. When she's overweight, sometimes she has insulin resistance. She has leptin resistance. Those processes are anti-fertilization process. They're aging process. They are not regenerative process. The beauty about our body He opened himself up if we want to follow the right track, to eat the right food.
This is not ever discussed. Like, this is never told to anybody. I tried to fall pregnant for about 4 years and I wasn't successful, and subsequently had my ovaries removed because I had tumours. But it was never explored. This conversation that you and I are having was never discussed with me, that my inflammation and what my body was going through was a contributing factor to my inability to fall pregnant. Nobody talks about this. You must be a real pioneer in this.
But if you look at what the scientists are doing, inflammation is a regressive act in every portion of our life progressiveness. Do you understand? And I'll give you just a little example. Take us a little off. There's a nutrient the two British professors are advancing nowadays. It's Terry Potter and Dan Burke.
Right.
They found that many plants have a substance called salvestrol.
Right.
This salvestrol, I think, have a chance one day to destroy oncology, because it's so strongly anti-cancer, and it goes to specific part of the cell that only the cancer cell has. And today, with this substance, wow, they take people with advanced cancer and regress it. Now, the salvestrol is in so many plants, in so many fruit, in so many vegetables. Yet, when the plant that you eat, when the berry that you eat are not ripe, right, and they are not from organic source, you have zero of that. Do you understand?
Wow.
So when we talk, you always say, oh, organic, not important. Well, you know, the plant that we eat, the food that we eat, gain its ability to protect us because it produces nutrients that fight the invader that want to destroy the plant.
Well, that makes sense, doesn't it?
But if you use so many pesticides, the plant don't need to fight anything, okay? Then it doesn't have taste, do you understand?
Yeah.
And will not help. We have always to think in a retrospective way. The paleo men, by the way,
yes,
not men were taller, they had longer bone, they have longer survival. You don't see sign of inflammation in their teeth as much. You don't see sign of metastasis of cancer.
Yeah.
So I kind of big believer in the paleo diet.
Oh, so you do believe in that. We had a Nell Stevenson, who's a big proponent for the paleo diet, on the show a couple of weeks ago. And she spoke about inflammation, and she spoke about how it's the natural way that the body was supposed to eat. So you agree with that?
And you see, there's one thing we have to remember. Our body lives in a universe that we are not adapted to. It takes 50,000 years to generally adapt to a new reality. So our body don't know that we eat grain. Our body don't know that's chemical in the environment. Our body don't know that we stress all the time. Our body don't know that we don't sleep. Our body don't know that when the sun comes down, everything is dark anymore. Do you understand?
Yeah.
So we live a life continuously and all the time, so different for what they were to be. So we have to try the best to get back into it, to be calm, to be relaxed, to eat perfect, and to reinforce our declining hormonal system and nutritional system.
Dr. Reiss, you talk about using natural hormones to support the aging process. What's a natural hormone? What does that mean?
Okay, so let's take you. You told me they took your ovary.
Yes,
yes.
Yes.
So let us say they took only one. Okay?
Yes.
So for years they used to say, oh, you have the other one. It will help you. What is it? If I'll remove one of your leg, with one leg you'll be able to achieve what you do with two legs. You immediately have 50% decline in the production of testosterone. Women have testosterone. It's very important to them. It makes them strong, decisive, safe, secure. It gives them balance, hand-to-eye coordination, build muscle, break fat, make them sexual, make them orgasmic. Half of it gone overnight.
Right.
Then estrogen. Women are estrogen. Estrogen make you beautiful, inspire, loving, giving, social, smart, bright, help you remember, retain information, retrieve information, help you be calm, be relaxed, be motivated, be inspired, give you lubrication in the vagina, make your eyes lubricated, make you inspire, make you social, make your skin rejuvenated. Half of it gone. Then it take away your progesterone. Progesterone is an incredible hormone women have. It protects them from breast cancer a different way. Yeah. It builds their bone. It calms them. It relaxes them. So overnight, somebody take an ovary, and boom, you're not the same woman again.
Yeah, yeah.
Do you understand?
I do. I understand completely, because I see a lot of myself in what you've just explained there.
Now you take human growth hormone. That's very powerful hormone. But human growth hormone gives you the feeling that you can do anything. You can grow, you can learn, you can excel at any age. Here at the age of 69, I'm doing a master's degree that I really don't need.
Look at you.
Human growth hormone help you, give you better communication with the younger generation. They don't look at you as another old person. They look at you as a one old person they should listen to. They should follow up, they should learn to. It builds muscle, it breaks fat. It increases your immune system. It decreases your jet lag.
Yeah.
There's other adrenal hormone. There's a DHEA. So all those hormones were in our body in optimal amount that we were young. And they're slowly going down.
Yeah.
Why too late? Is it normal? No, it's not normal.
Well, I guess because, as you say, we're living in an environment that we're not adapted to. So we're aging younger. Is that right?
Not only that. The medicine thought that when you're going, let us say I'm saying I'm going to climb to this building, stay on the top of in the building, and then I'm going to jump and kill myself. So at best, medicine is going to think how they're going to stop you from falling and crashing. Maybe they're going to put a lot of people are going to hold something that you're going to fall into it and you're not crush.
Yeah.
Medicine is not thinking about talking to you and preventing to go up to jump.
In the first place, it's not addressing the cause.
We deal with the disaster. We don't deal with the prevention. And really I'm not saying that people shouldn't take drugs, but let's take simple things. You said you're in peri-menopause. You have difficulty to sleep. Most.
Yeah.
Do you know that British Medical News in 2012 has shown that already 17 days of medication to stop sleep triple your death, increase breast cancer by 35%. And other studies show that it increase mental retardation. And you don't sleep.
Yeah.
Well, there's so many nutrients that can help you sleep. Melatonin can help you sleep. Progesterone can help you sleep. The nutrient that increase GABA in the body help you sleep.
Yeah.
We can check today if your cortisol is high before you go to sleep, and with nutrient we can calm it and help you sleep.
So talk to us about those nutrients and again those natural hormones. Like, what are they? Because I know a lot of the people who are listening to the show right now would probably be asking the same question and saying, you know, if we're not going to do HRT, what do we do instead?
Why you shouldn't do HRT? If you don't see well, for example, your eyesight is not optimal, okay? So do you use the approach to say, okay, my eyes are tired, they don't want to see everything, I'm not going to force them to see, so I'm not going to see, I'm not going to read, I'm not going to drive car, and I'm not going to the movie.
Yeah.
Does it sound logical to you?
No.
We obviously are going to use glasses to improve our eyesight.
Yeah.
Why we are not going to add something that's so essential to us? And especially for women. For women, it's very easy to differentiate the decline of the hormone.
True.
Because in the second week of the cycle, the estrogen go up
Right.
to improve procreation. The last week of the cycle, estrogen go down. So the first thing that women are going to see, this severe dichotomy between the second week and the last week. And mostly, it shows that the estrogen are dropping. So when the estrogen are dropping before the end of the cycle, women get depressed. Women get migraine. Women are anxious. Women don't sleep. They don't remember. They don't recall. They lose their motivation. And whenever the estrogen go down in the cell, the testosterone go up and make them short, impatient, irritable, break out, get oily skin.
Yeah, yeah.
So obviously, when we rebalancing, we add estrogen, we can solve it a lot of times.
And how do you do that naturally, though? How do you get a natural hormone like that?
Well, 1,000 plants on Earth have a molecule, and especially it's very rich in soy and in yam. They have a molecule that through enzymatic process, we can recreate the exact bioidentical hormone you have in your own body.
Through plants?
Not through a plant. But out of it, we recreate it. So that's the exact hormone your body have. Not a look-alike, not anything that's different.
And that recreation process, Dr. Reiss, is there any chemical process involved in that, or is there any genetic modification?
It's enzymatic process.
Enzymatic.
An enzymatic process that move this molecule into creation of the exact hormone your body has. Unfortunately, many years ago, the first hormone in the hormonal tree is pregnenolone. That's the first hormone.
Right.
It gets produced by cholesterol. Here, to all the people that take cholesterol medication, it drops the cholesterol, it drops immediately all the hormone, okay?
Yeah.
It used to be that the body can take one hormone and move it to the other hormone. From pregnenolone, it go to DHEA. From DHEA, it go to testosterone. From testosterone, it go to estrogen. Today, it's not like this anymore. We need to add each hormone individually.
Right.
But it depends of what you want, or what kind of stage in your life. Many times, if we just calm you and relax you, your body use the hormone better.
Yeah.
If we talk about estrogen, stress diminish your estrogen. If you drink alcohol, it may diminish your estrogen. Caffeine diminish your estrogen. Extra physical activity diminish your estrogen.
Wow.
You see, all the time we either overdo or underdo. We're in the era that we are over-exercised.
Yeah, true. I can see that. I can definitely see that. We're at the extremes all the time.
You never see marathon runner or people heavy weightlifter live long. You know, it was shown today that they took group of women to run for 1 hour in a rate of 6 to 7 miles per hour.
Yeah.
All what happened, they lost muscle and they decreased their metabolism. If instead they would sprint for 10, 12 seconds and then stop for a minute and do it for 30 minutes, 2 to 3 times a week, exactly the opposite will happen. They'll build muscle, they'll break fat, and their metabolism will go up.
Is that right? 12 to 13 seconds?
12 to seconds to run as humanly fast as you can. And then you need to recover for about 45 seconds to a minute. If you can run as fast, bike or be on a treadmill for 30 seconds as humanly fast as you can, and then stop to a minute.
I hope everybody that's listening and watching this show has written that down. Because
you go to a club, you see those people working, sweating, and all the time they look the same.
And you know, it's so true. And I was only just having a conversation with somebody about this the other day, and I don't want to go off topic here because the point that you're making is so poignant. But we've been exercising to excess and dieting to excess, but for the last 2,000 years, it's made no difference to our obesity rates. In fact, we're bigger, more overweight, and more unhealthy, yet our advice isn't changing.
And we're getting more of those muffins that you talked about.
Yes, that's true.
And those muffins are years of grain, a tendency towards diabetes, what we call insulin resistance. Many times we have a situation that we have leptin resistance.
Tell us about what is leptin resistance?
Okay, leptin is the most incredible hormone because leptin is what we all want to have in a perfect amount. Because leptin gives us energy, break fat, and take our hunger away.
Ooh.
Okay? When we gain weight, our body increases the leptin in order to decrease this accumulation in fat. And the more fat we gain, the more leptin go up. Now, our caveman brain start to work. And our caveman brain is preoccupied with starvation. And the brain say, okay, now he has this high leptin, and what if tomorrow we're going to starve for 2 weeks? With high leptin, we'll eliminate all his fat in few days, and he will not be able to wait to survive until the food will come. So what our body is doing, leptin resistance, shut off this mechanism. And the second we get to be leptin resistance, everything is the opposite. Our body wants us to gain weight, although we're overweight. Yeah. Our body gives us hunger, although we don't need to eat. Our body makes us tired, so we will not spend calories. Do you understand?
How do we get to this? How does this happen, and how do we overcome it then?
Well, if you talk, again, we come to, for example, we have to eliminate grain. Because grain are toxic to our gut.
Right.
Grain are mainly sugar. Grain, we control our mood, our mind, control our endocrine system. You know, our gut, people think that the gut is a tube that takes food and make it into a stool. This is the most sophisticated organ in the body. This is where most our immunity is. The brain and the gut talk to each other all the time.
Yeah, yeah.
And there's nothing more toxic to the gut than grain. You know, all the grain have chemical called lectin and saponin, and they create mini hole in the gut. And suddenly to our blood system come all the chemical in the environment that we never had, come portion of food that we never metabolize it. Our body won't start to react to it. That's how our body cause inflammation. Yeah. That's how our body cause autoimmune disease. There's no autoimmune disease during the caveman time.
Yeah,
do you understand?
Yeah, and look, we've got a whole show that, you know, we might even, if you're willing, to get you to come back on and have a conversation with us about that.
Okay, so we have to go back to the base. We always, when somebody give us drug and medication, let's give you the beautiful example of birth control pill, okay? Yeah. Birth control pill were given to women to give them freedom. I say they have no freedom. It destroys them. Take their freedom away. It take all the estrogen away. It take the ability to think, to remember, to look beautiful, to elaborate the skin, to remember, to retrieve information, to sleep. Gone. There's two chemicals there that don't work like estrogen.
This is the birth control pill that our girls are starting with around 14 to 16 and being given because they have acne.
Then it gives them progesterone. But it's a chemical like progesterone that aggressively increase breast cancer, destructive to the brain, destructive to the bone. It's known. Then those two pills eliminate the testosterone in the body. So this little 17-year-old that get birth control pill lose the ability to say no.
And we know this? Science knows it, our pharmaceuticals know it?
Oh, everybody knows it. And in addition, it built in the body a protein called sex-binding globulin that decides how many hormone you get and how many you keep. It go up 3 times. So all the rest of your hormone you cannot use. You cannot use your human growth hormone. You cannot use your DHEA. You cannot use your thyroid. Do you understand?
I do.
And I do believe that women, it's not like something that you stop it for a short period of time, stop to take it, and everything return to normal. Many times never. Many times women never reproduce the same level of testosterone. Do you understand?
Well, you consider how long people or women stay on the birth control pill. I say they start at the age of 16 and they decide that they're ready to fall pregnant at the age of 25 to 30 or 35. They've been on the birth control pill for up to 20, 25 years before, they decide to have children, and it's no wonder we're having such issues. It's mind-blowing to me and infuriating.
Yeah, I don't get furious, because when you get furious, you get upset, you get uptight, the muffin is growing, you won't sleep good at night.
The muffin is growing.
And you will not have interest to have sex. That's so important.
Okay, I mustn't get angry, so that I love it.
Now, they take women like you in peri-menopause. Don't take bioidentical hormone. Go on birth control pill.
Yes.
It makes no sense. You take chemical that give you alleged illusion of regularity, and that you use instead of your own hormone that were given to you, that we have track record of millions of years, how they work and how good they work for us. That makes no sense.
Dr. Reiss, I could continue this conversation with you forever and a day, because I think you're absolutely fascinating, and I love how to the point you are, but you're not pulling any punches here. You're not hiding behind any hidden agendas. I think what you've got to share with our public is just extraordinary, and it's life-changing. It's life-changing, because I have people so close to me who are going through menopause and are at different stages of the aging process, who are being given artificial hormones, birth control pills, and I see it, yet there is nobody who is, well, I don't know if there's nobody, certainly not in my field of influence, that is doing the education like you are, that comes from a medical background. I think it's a treat.
And I want to tell you one thing. I finished medical school in Israel. I did residency in obstetric in Israel. I did residency in obstetric in the United States. I did other subspecialty, but I wrote a book, and the book I finished about 4 or 5 years ago. And when people say to you, there's no data, there's no science, every word in this book was based on science. I never in the book wrote, I've seen 60,000 women and that's my opinion.
Yeah.
Every sentence is based on scientific data. I couldn't put them all in the book, but all the reference I put in my website. And I always encourage women, and you read something, and he said, that's the opposite that my doctor tell me.
Yes.
Go to my website and find the original scientific article that promote it. We live in fear.
Yeah.
Women in the world today are sure that they are going to get breast cancer one day. They are told, you'll do mammogram, for example, and you will not have breast cancer. There's zero proof to it. The European, for example, has shown the more mammogram you do, you have more breast cancer and more death from breast cancer. Recently, the Canadian has shown no benefit to mammogram, but more breast cancer. So, and let me tell you something very simple. Everybody use a bra. Do you know that bra triple the risk of breast cancer?
Really?
Triple. There's 2 epidemiologists from New Zealand, close to you. They study population in Fiji and show that women that use bra, and it's a non-wire bra. Wire bra is much worse because it changes the electromagnetic field. They show that women that use bra have 3-fold more breast cancer. Have you ever heard about it?
No.
Have you ever heard that you can stimulate your nipple 3-4 times a day? It will mimic the benefit of breastfeeding. And it will decrease breast cancer by about 4.5 a year, like breastfeeding. because when you stimulate your nipple, you open them up and you release free radical from the duct.
Wow.
So some simple things can be done that can help us. We are not given information about them, and we are not getting aware of them.
Dr. Reiss, is this information in the book that you've written, The Natural Superwoman?
Yeah. There's a lot of it. Those information is there.
So for our listeners and our viewing audience, Dr. Reiss has been incredibly generous and given us 5 copies of The Natural Superwoman. And I want to tell you, chances are it's only going to be 4 because I'm going to be keeping one myself. So in order for you guys to get your hands on a copy of this amazing book, and no doubt, I can assure you we are going to move heaven and earth to get Dr. Reiss back on the show to continue this conversation, because there's just so much information here that's valuable to us. But in order to get your hands on a copy of Dr. Reiss's book, The Natural Superwoman, send us in a note on this page and also on our Facebook page, which is allthews.facebook.com/Carren's Couch. And write us a note in 25 words or less why you want a copy for yourself or for somebody that you love. Because I think just looking at Dr. Reiss's website, and the link to Dr. Reiss's website is also on the bottom of this page. So make sure that you click on it and go and enjoy the resources, devour the resources, because there's a reason why I found him, and he's very congruent in his way, and you can tell from our interview today, Dr. Reiss's way of looking at aging and women's issues and gynecological issues is really progressive, and it's what we're all searching for. So make sure that you go to his website and check it out. Dr. Reiss, I'm so sorry that this interview has come to an end in terms of time, but
I know it's a huge subject. We can talk for days and not finish.
Oh,
but
I agree.
Thank you for the opportunity. I'm really thankful for you.
Oh, look, I am so grateful for the contribution that you've made to our audience and to me personally. And tell me something, just for all of us, because our audience is global. If we want to know more about you, or perhaps have a consultation with you, is there any possibility that you do consultations over the net or through Skype?
Oh, we 30% of my patients are out of the United States. So we work through Skype, on phone. You can do all the testing that you need to do, you can do it where you live.
Oh,
so
fantastic.
for sure, we are all the same.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah.
In Australia, in Iran, in Israel, in Russia, those are the same women. They have the same problem, and this world that's stressful, that the nutrition of the food declining, all of them affecting us in the same way. And we have to stand up and revolt and do what's right for us and not what's right for the pharmaceutical company.
Oh, I love you. I love you. There's somebody that I must introduce you to. She's a very, very dear friend of mine, and she shares your views. Cindy O'Meara is her name, and I do a podcast with her and another friend of mine, Kim. So I'm definitely going to introduce you to them as well, because your whole philosophy is totally in line with our belief on how a human should be functioning in today's world. Dr. Reiss, you've been an amazing contribution. Thank you for every breath, every word, every year and every moment that you've invested in your knowledge and your ability to make a difference to us. Thank you. Thank you on behalf of all of our audience.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. So for everybody that's been watching and listening to the show this week, I hope it's been as extraordinary for you as it has been for me. It's been an eye-opener. I've had aha moments, and I am definitely making an appointment with Dr. Reiss purely for myself and also for the people that I love, because I think that there's real value in this. So stay tuned. I hope this has been an amazing interview for you. Stay tuned, because we're definitely going to let you know when we're going to get Dr. Reiss back on the show again. And we're going to continue down the rabbit hole of the whole aging process. But by the sound of it, we start aging when we take our first contraception pill. That's mind-blowing to me. It starts back then, and then it also starts with the food. It continues with the food that we eat. This is a huge topic. We are going down the rabbit hole, and you are coming with me. Thank you for joining me on Carren's Couch this week. I hope you've loved it, and we'll see you next week for more of the same. Bye for now. corner again. Welcome back. We've got a really amazing question that's been posted through Facebook by one of my amazing followers and very dear friend of mine. Her name's Michelle. And it's a really, really good question. I'm sitting here with Peter Audette, and we're talking all things money and all things finances. Now, Michelle asked us a question, Pete, and it's especially for you around retirement, which I think is really pertinent given the interview that we've just done about aging and, you know, what it's like for us to age. Let's look at money from the point of view of getting a bit older. Do you have a really practical way of calculating how much money we need for our retirement?
Yeah, it's a really good question. There's probably two parts to the answer.
Right.
And I think it's good to be truthful about what it's like to be retired, because we see a lot of people who are retired and they're living on the money that they've accumulated over their lifetime. And the truth, as far as I'm concerned, is that when you have enough money in retirement to live with a level of dignity, that's a great thing. And when it's jeopardised, it can be a very uncomfortable feeling. And now with the way that we all keep a lot healthier than we used to most of the time.
Yeah, we're going to live longer.
We're going to live longer. And if you consider someone retiring at 60 or 65 and living until they're 90 or 95, you could almost spend as much time in the workforce as you could outside the workforce. And so that money really has to last. The thing that we see the most is that people are exceptionally reluctant to spend their capital when they're retired. So if you spent your whole life aiming to live on $50,000 a year when you were retired, and you've saved up an amount of money, if that amount of money won't produce $50,000 a year, people
in interest, you mean?
In income and earnings, then people tend not to spend $50,000 a year until they run out. They tend to go the other way. They tend to live smaller, and I think that the end result of that is I don't know. My view would be a less authentic life. You don't get to do the things that you always planned that you wanted to do. And I think that that's near and dear to people.
Oh, I think it is, especially in Australia. A lot of Australians have a view of, you know, we'll do that when we're older. Right now we've got to really knuckle in and work hard and accumulate our wealth so that when we're retired and we don't have to work, that's when we can go travelling the world and, you know, do all of those things. It would be just heart-wrenching to get to those years.
Absolutely.
And not have the dream life that you'd been anticipating for the 50 years leading up to that.
Yeah. So the current thinking is to plan around this idea that if you want to preserve capital in retirement, and I think this is the utopia of capital preservation, that you want to think about somewhere between an average rate of return of income after expenses of 3 or 4%. It's very conservative, and it is so on purpose, because if you take life events, long-term averages, you have to take into account market fluctuations and the way that the world moves.
Right.
That an average compound rate of return is different when you're accumulating money to when you're spending money. Because
what does that mean?
It's like a leaking boat.
There you go.
How's that sound?
That's better language for me.
So when you don't have a leak in the boat, it's pretty easy. It's pretty easy for things to keep going well.
Yeah.
But once the boat starts leaking, then it's always a battle. It's always a battle. And in retirement, that nest egg that you've built up is always leaking. You have to live. You have to spend money.
Yeah.
And here's the thing, when I talk about the compounding return, you have to spend money in the years where you make a good return. You have to spend money in the years when you don't make a good return. And you have to spend money in the years when the market's down and you've lost money. So you have to live all the time. So you need to make sure that you've got a sufficient amount of money put aside that can cope with all those different sorts of scenarios. The best way to do that is to use a very low rule of thumb. So 3 or 4%. So if you want $40,000 a year, save $1 million. Really, really simple. If you want $80,000 a year, save $2 million. On the basis that if you've got something like that, then you should be able to sustain that amount of capital your entire life and achieve that 3 or 4% income. Now, there could be many years that you outperform that, which is always a bonus.
Yeah.
But I think you want to plan to be realistic about the fact that you're probably not going to feel like spending it.
Yeah, yeah.
You just don't want to...
You don't want to squander it.
No, you don't want to empty the bank account and be left with nothing, particularly as you get older.
Yeah.
And it's great in terms of being able to provide for the next generation, you know, be generous to your children and your grandchildren, your friends and your family, those sorts of things.
Yeah, cool. So 3 to 4% is what we're aiming for.
I think if you want to have a sustainable retirement, then that would be a very sensible rule of thumb as a starting point to work to with your retirement savings and your planning.
And just to finish up, when do you think it's wise to start planning for that? Is there a certain point in a person's life at a certain age? I mean, if we're 20, should we be thinking about it? Should I be thinking about it? At what point is best?
Well, I think in the cascading order of life, I think that if you're in the mindset of wanting to own your family home, then that's your first priority. Buy it and pay it off.
Yep.
And then from there, work towards making sure that you've got a sustainable level of savings. With maybe one rule, and that is that when you buy your first house or your second house, you should have in mind what retirement needs to look like.
Yeah.
Because if you spend all of your money on today, you'll have nothing for tomorrow. And there would be a long list of people who have retired with a $3 million house and 2 Mercedes-Benz and no savings. And it's amazing how the lifestyle changes once the income stops.
Oh, I could ask you 1,000 questions about that.
Oh, you can keep going forever.
Oh, wow, we're out of time. That was brilliant. Thank you. Michelle, I hope you had your question answered. I know you did, because I got mine answered too. So join us here again next week on Carren's Couch. Make sure that you go to the bottom of this video and post all of your comments and your questions. Again, Pete's always here. He's our resident money man, and he's a bit of a spunk. Just had to throw that in because it makes him embarrassed.
Thanks,
so
Karen.
post all of your comments right here on this page. Go to our Facebook page at allthews.facebook.com/Carren's Couch. And when you go to iTunes to listen to this via podcast, give us a 5-star rating and tell everyone you know. We're going to see you right here again on Carren's Couch. Thanks for joining us. Bye for now.